Hello and welcome to the second part of my analysis of the Harry and Meghan documentary on Netflix. The next 3 episodes drop this week. So I'm using the documentary to explain some of the tricks that we use to tell stories. And today I'm going to look at how we use unconscious bias to tell our stories. Is that a good thing? Let's get into it. Unconscious biases, a term that Harry uses an awful lot. And unconscious bias is sometimes a good thing. It's unconscious thinking, or subconscious thinking as we more traditionally call it. When we walk and talk, we are actually using our unconscious learnt behaviour to make shortcuts, and it's what keeps us safe. It's why we can carry on a conversation with a friend and not get run over when we reach the curb, because we see the curb. Our brain doesn't need to do anything other than to think, right, now I stop, I look both ways to make sure there's no cars coming, and then I can walk on. That is what human beings do all the time. We are after the shortest possible way to the outcome with as little brain power as we possibly can use. Unconscious or subconscious thinking is a good thing a lot of the time. It's when it creates bias that it isn't a good thing. But we use this bias phenomena all the time when we're making programs. Even if we're putting a piece of music under a piece of action, and it's written in a slightly minor key, it might be evocative of a lonely, spacious place, it might just sound sad. That is unconscious bias. It's telling us that this music is sad, so what we're saying is sad. Our brain makes assumptions, and of course it does. And it happens all the time when we're making programs. Now, how do we apply that to Meghan and Harry? Well, let's have a look at the pre-titles. That is the little story that happens before we even get into the opening titles of episode 1. It's the scene setter. It's setting out what this documentary is going to do to us emotionally. Interestingly, there is a bias called anchor bias, where we rely too much on the first piece of information that we are given. In reality programming, I use super teasers all the time. Setting the pace, the scene, the feeling, the jeopardy for the entire series that stays with that audience throughout, because it's the first piece of information they got about that program. And we're actually inherently designed to make those judgments at the very outset. Even in this video, in the very first 10 seconds, I use the term hidden messages because it's intriguing, because you want to stick around to the end to find out what hidden messages there are. You want to learn about the techniques of storytelling to make you a better storyteller. So that first piece of anchor bias, by using the term hidden messages at the very start of this video and in the title, is what makes it intriguing, is what hopefully draws you in to watch it. In the same way, Meghan and Harry's documentary, it has to set the scene. What does it use? It uses images of an aeroplane. Unclear whether it's landing or taking off. I'd have used it taking off. It uses shots of people walking through an airport. It uses Harry on his mobile phone, talking in the Windsor suite. All of that sequence, there's a huge shot of the departure sign as well. It's all underscored with Gil Talmey's wonderful piano playing, which is lilting and sad, not quite melancholy, but you know, it gives you an emotional feeling as you watch it or listen to it. That is another form of unconscious bias. It's biasing towards you feeling this is a sad experience. Anybody who's left a country for any period of time knows what it's like to walk through that airport or sit in the departure lounge after you've said goodbye to your maybe aged parents or just people that you love. You're not sure when you're going to see them again. It's very, very emotional. Harry, he's on his mobile phone, and this is another form of modern bias or unconscious bias, in that if it's on TikTok, it must be true. So Harry is there telling us, first person, straight down the lens, that he doesn't know how he got here. He's got a jolly good idea, but he doesn't know how he got to the point where he's given up his royal duties and he's leaving, and which he feels clearly very sad about and quite angry about in terms of the reasons why. And it must be true, bias happens all the time. Apparently the earth is flat, or so many people will tell you, because they've seen it on TikTok. So it must be true. And this sort of first person in your face, somebody telling you that something is true, is very powerful. In the same way that if we get experts, professors, or people that we respect telling us that something is true, then we tend to believe that it is true, almost without question. That is a form of unconscious bias. And there's language bias as well. If we use terms, as I said in my first video, like militant before union, the word militant sets a tone. It creates a story that we all believe unions are militant, disruptive, badly behaved, likely to cause disruption to our wonderful Christmas, and that's a bad thing. So this kind of bias is very, very powerful and used in storytelling all the time. Look at the headlines. Those headlines are part of the authority bias. It's telling the story. The music I've already talked about. The words that Harry uses. The words that other people use in relation to them, forced out. Then we look at some of the images. I've already talked about the airport, but there's other images in that pre-title sequence. There's images of statues, which was a huge debate, but a statue, particularly in Bristol, being pushed into Bristol Harbour. And that was statues of a gentleman who has very heavy connections to slavery. And so you have this other bias where things that are necessarily disconnected form connections. So clearly the inference of the shot of the Brexit protest outside the Houses of Parliament and the shot of the statue are saying that there is a bigger picture here, that institutionalized racism is playing a part in this story that we're just about to watch. That is a form of bias. It's a form of storytelling that evokes an emotion in your audience. And all of this with the rather powerful, what we in the industry call image system, the use of the airport lounge, the use of that Brexit demonstration, adds to a fairly powerful assault on our senses, setting the scene for the entire documentary. You listen to the sound bites. Sound bites are very interesting because you can be very selective with sound bites, and those sound bites are all from authoritative news sources. Together with some of the language that they use. How did we get here? You know, it's a question from somebody who doesn't even quite understand how they got here themselves, somebody who's going through some kind of emotional turmoil. It all sets the story, sets the tone of the story for the entire next 6 episodes. Image system is something that I love. If you look at the great 1942 film Casablanca, it is full of what we call image system. And it's very powerful because it works on our subconscious. Humphrey Bogart, whenever you see him, he kind of appears through the fronds of a palm tree, and the fronds cause shadows on his face. Now, the whole premise about Casablanca is that it was run by the Vichy government. That's the right-wing French government that were collaborating with the Nazis. Rick is an American expatriate who's trapped in Casablanca, not knowing if he's ever going to be arrested or interned or whatever. So although Vichy territories like Casablanca, like the city of Casablanca, have this air of freedom, they're actually a prison. They're very hard to get out of. So they want to create, and the whole axis of the story is built around being trapped in Casablanca until eventually Rick gets his ticket out of there and he has to leave the love interest behind in Casablanca. So they have to set this whole city as a prison. And one of the other ways that they do that through image system is if you look at the control tower of the airport, the light on top of it would normally be pointing up in the into the sky, saying to aeroplanes, "Here we are. This is where the airport is." But it doesn't. It points down into the dark streets of Casablanca. And as it goes round and round and round, it's like a prison searchlight on a watchtower, flicking between the shadows, people darting in and out of the shadows. So the whole thing feels like a prison. Image system is something used heavily, certainly in cinematography. Sometimes it happens naturally, sometimes it's implied. Certainly happens in commercials. Just the mere fact that, you know, they'll put a new refreshing drink in some hot environment, that's part of image system. Or something that's meant to make you relax and happy in a party environment. It's all part of image system. Of course it is. And our brains make those subconscious, unconscious connections between the images, the sounds that we hear, and the emotion that the storyteller wants us to feel. It is not rocket science in a funny way, but it's used all the time. And these are some of the hidden messages that we see in this documentary. Things that are designed to make us feel things and also not question things. The use of experts, the non-use of an alternative viewpoint. Very interesting, very clever, and I hope you found this interesting, and I hope when the other 3 episodes drop on Thursday that there'll be more to discuss. Thanks a lot. Do subscribe if you like these insights into the thinking of program makers when they're putting together a program for you to watch. If you want to hear more about the inside workings of television, or maybe you're looking at a career in television, there's some more videos, and all you have to do is subscribe to my YouTube channel and you can get all of that right here, right now.